When I was a kid, imagination were the area of my expertise. Me and my best friend Renata could spend hours of fantasizing things and doing pretend play. We imagined ourselves to be the members of Harry Potter squad. So we turned pen into magic wand, cardbox paper into flying car with our imagination. And sometimes when I was sad, I went to my imaginary land where I could forget my sadness. For example, when I was having arguments with my parents, I started to imagine that I would be happier if I was born in other family, if I was having my friends' parents, who look better and more fun, of course, because I only knew them from the outside. But at the time, I thought that they don't seem like they argue a lot and they can have some fun together. I cannot have that in my family at that time. I was born in an Asian family. Both of my parents are Chinese Indonesian. I also have two older brothers. They are so generous with their love to me, and they also have some unique ways to express their love. One of the ways that I found annoying is micromanaging my life. Second most annoying is their motto. A. Parents are always right. B. Even if they're wrong, then I need to look at the first point. Growing up, especially when I was a teenager, I disagree with my mom a lot. When I ask her, why do I have to do this? She would answer with something like, because I am your parent and you should do what I say. The teenager version of me liked to talk back to my mom, and she was upset and angry because I was being difficult to her. That's a glimpse of my family dynamic. I grew up with many unnoticed resentments inside of me because my family and my parents were different than what I thought they should be. Even though imagination can be felt as a helpful way to escape the reality, I realized that it is only temporary. So I gave up imagination as a cure to my sadness. For better and for worse, studies have found that family relationships play a central role in shaping our well-being across the life course. When we first enter this world, our family is the first people who introduce us to the concept of love. From our day-to-day interactions with these people, like fighting over toys with our siblings or getting scolded by our angry parents, we are being exposed to the imperfections of human characters. Time after time, we are shown the picture of how to react to any given circumstances. Unconsciously or consciously, we could copy their way of managing emotions and building relationships. And not only that, their voices are also so powerful. Growing up around the voices that tell us, I'm here for you, I understand, don't worry, instead of, stop crying, it's not a big deal. Or maybe, hey, I'm proud of you, I believe that you can do it. Instead of, can you be more like your sister? You never do anything right. Shut up, you're just a kid. Voices that deny or validate our failing, voices that dismiss us or believe in us, can impact us differently. Our family is the inner circle that shapes our sense of identity, our sense of worthiness, who we are. Every good and bad aspects we've seen and experienced in our family shape each one of us into the person we are today. It's either something that we've seen and we try to recreate that again in our lives, or it's something that we've experienced and we try to avoid that to happen again in our lives. We are connected. Their well-being will impact our well-being. Their perspective will impact our perspective. Their value will impact our value. And their imperfection will also impact our own imperfection. For me, the most unique element of family is we don't get to choose our family. It seems like we have to deal with this complex, challenging, and imperfect people for our entire life. And just because we're bonded by blood doesn't mean loving them will be natural for some of us. And let me tell you, it is okay. If at some point in your life you've ever felt like you were born in the wrong family, you are not alone. Maybe you were born in a family who doesn't value apologies, doesn't allow emotion or opinion to be expressed safely. Or maybe the challenge that you face is because there's an absence of healthy communication. There's a lack of boundaries. Or there's a lack of empathy and understanding. There's a lack of intimacy, no sense of closeness with each other. Or maybe violence and abuse. I can list down many reasons why we might think that we were born in the wrong family. But I think the very important reason that we often do not recognize is because our fundamental needs of love, connection, and understanding are unmet. And they act the way they do because there are also unmet needs of love, connection, and understanding inside of them. It's like an unbroken cycle. Whatever challenge or struggle that we have in our family, I believe it happened not because they're bad people or wrong people for us. It is oftentimes a byproduct of the neglected pain inside of them. I remember this one time when my brother reached out to me after I had a huge fight with my mom. He asked me, "Why are you being so hard on mom? I saw mom secretly crying over this." So my mom always acts tough and she never cried in front of us. And then my brother continued, "I know that she could be really hard on us, but I think maybe it's because her mom always does that to her too. And it's just the way she knows how to handle us. I hope we can understand her position." That was a very kind perspective from my wise brother. But at the time, I can't understand it. In my mind, why should I bear the cost of her pain with her mom? It's unfair for me. But now, looking back, it kind of makes sense to me. Because I could affect people around me too, without me intend to, if I still hold the pain inside of me. The thing is, we can try to numb our feeling. We can travel around the world. We can get ourselves busy with a lot of activities. But if we can be really honest with ourselves, we might forget it for a while, but we can never make our mind at peace if we still hold this unresolved pain inside of us. At some point in our lives, we need to get back and deal with these imperfections in our family. So you might wonder, a fulfilling relationship with our family is not always natural to be built. Meanwhile, the quality of our relationship with them will impact the quality of our lives, and we cannot entirely run away from it. Then what should we do? Are we trapped? How do we break the cycle? I tried to look deeper and look for ways to rebuild my relationship with my family. And after years of trying and not giving up, I found there are 3 mindset habits of fulfilling relationship. First, mindful acceptance. One of the main reasons why it's so hard for me to work on my relationship with my family is because I used to think that I deserve a better treatment. They don't listen to me, but I have to listen to them no matter what. It's unfair. I used to think that way. But the more I think that way, the more my pain escalates, because being too attached with my own expectation can be exhausting mentally. We can step into a realm of acceptance the moment we try to let go of our own expectation of how we're supposed to be treated and make peace with the fact that we have no power to change people. The situation might not change right away. They might act the same way they do before, but with the help of viewing them through the lens of acceptance, we can stop this pattern to be repeated unknowingly to those around us. The journey of acceptance is not a one-time decision, but it is a day-to-day decision. And the journey can be felt less lonely if we could share them with some trusted people who can be there for us. However, it is also important to note that acceptance requires our mindfulness in a certain context like violence and abuse. We should not accept this as our fate. We should get some help. But it is the acceptance of these experiences, in this case, that will bring change to ourselves. Because we are the ones who take control of our own heart. Okay, let's go to the second one. Generous interpretation. The story we tell to ourselves has a powerful way to affect the way we see, decide, and live our lives. There's a power in the interpretation we tell. A. she's a horrible person, or B, she's the human with unresolved pain. We can try to be generous in the way we interpret their behavior. Try to look for compassionate interpretations on any behavior and slowly find our way to understand that every imperfection they have is a reflection of what's going on inside of them, and every difficult trait we find in them is a reminder that they're only human and we too can be challenging too. Now my last point is love. I think the purest form of love is giving without being transactional. If we say, okay, I'll understand, I'll be nice, as long as you do that to me, we are trapped in a conditional love. We have a choice to act in a certain way, but when we take courage to choose understanding, empathy, even if they don't do the same, we have a better chance to break the cycle of unmet needs. Holding pain is not good for our well-being. The time we choose to love them, we also take a decision to love ourselves. Loving them is not always a natural decision, but when we choose to love them, no matter how they make us feel, we're making a difference. I remember a very impactful change in my family. So, my family was not the kind of family who can share how we truly feel to each other. It felt awkward for us to tell something like, I'm grateful for you, I love you, or I'm sorry. I always wanted to have a warm family who can be vulnerable to each other, so I tried to do that first. So, the first time I decided to tell my dad that I love him, I didn't have the courage to tell him in person, so I texted him. After I sent the text, I was so nervous to see his reaction. But at the end, my dad didn't reply my text. I assumed that he felt confused. But I didn't give up. I tried to build habits of showing how I truly feel, expressing how I truly feel to my family. And fast forward to 12 years from that moment, now it feels less awkward for us to say these things to each other. I can tell my brother that I'm grateful for him. I can tell my mom that I love her. It is something that I'm truly grateful for. Building relationship, fulfilling relationship with our family takes work. When things get hard, we might think, okay, that's it. That's a dead end. But the moment we choose not to give up on them and try to enter a long journey to accept them as who they are, we stop waiting a change to happen. We start making a change. With mindful acceptance, generous interpretation, and love, family is the place where we could learn and practice the concept of acceptance and forgiveness. Though it might not be natural, but we can plant some seeds for that thing to bloom in our family. And we already have the seeds in our hands. Just like any plant, our part is to nurture them, and we cannot force its growth. Thank you.